This is a video on shapes of molecules, but it's just a review, so make sure you watch the previous video for the full explanation of determining shapes of molecules. I'm trying this on my cell phone, so I'm hoping it's going to work out. So here I've already drawn the molecule CH2F2 with a Lewis structure. So as you can see, I've got dots and lines, the lines representing a pair of electrons, and so this is the Lewis structure. And the first thing we need to do is count the groups of electrons around the central atom. So here's one group, two groups, three groups, four groups. So I have four groups of electrons. And I'm going to write electrons as E minus. So that's just a short way out. Four groups of electrons gives this generic shape. And these are 109-degree angles. Now I have to fill in how many atoms do I have. I have a carbon atom in the middle. I have a hydrogen atom, another hydrogen atom, a fluorine atom, and a fluorine atom. So this is my shape for this molecule, and this shape is called a tetrahedron. Four groups of electrons, and all of the spots are filled with atoms, and so that's a tetrahedron. Let's try the next one, CSH2. I've already drawn the Lewis, actually I just drew the structural here. If I wanted to do the Lewis structure, I'd have to add some dots around the sulfur. So there is now Lewis structure for this molecule. And the first thing I need to do is count the groups of electrons. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups of electrons. And this double bond counts as one group. So I have 3 groups of electrons, which gives this generic shape, which is a flat shape at 120-degree angles. And now I have to add the atoms. I have a carbon in the middle. I have a hydrogen, and a sulfur. So this is my shape, and we call this shape triangular planar, or trigonal planar, either or. So let's try another one. Here I have pH3, and I've already done this time a Lewis structure because have dots and lines. So this is a Lewis structure, and I'm going to count the groups of electrons. I get 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, and I'm always counting around the central atom. So 4 groups of electrons. So I have 4 groups of electrons. And that gives me this generic shape. And now I have to add the atoms. I have a phosphorus atom here, hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen here, and there's nothing on the top. So that kind of looks like that. There's no atom on the top. So here is the shape of that. Still 109-degree atoms, approximately. You may learn later on that the electrons that aren't bonded take up a little bit more space. So this is a little bit less than 109-degree atoms. And this shape here is a pyramid. So that's a very quick review of how to determine the shapes. I first counted the groups of electrons from a correctly drawn Lewis structure, and then I did determine how many atoms there were and then the shape from that. So you need to remember if there are 4 groups of electrons, this is the generic shape. Okay, it kind of looks like a tripod 3-dimensionally. It has 109-degree angles approximately, 109 or 109.5-degree angles. Okay, and then you fill in the number of atoms you have. If you have 2 atoms, then you have a straight line. If you have 3 atoms, then it's bent. If you have 4 atoms, it's a pyramid. If you have 5 atoms, it's a tetrahedron. If you have 3 groups of electrons, you get this generic shape. Ooh, that's a bad straight line. Not a straight line, but it should be 120-degree angles, and this is flat. This is not a flat shape. And if you have 2 atoms, once again, the only shape is linear. If you have 3 atoms, it's bent. If you have 4 atoms, it is triangular planar. And then if you have just 2 groups of electrons, the only shape you can have is linear. So if you have 2 atoms or you have 3 atoms, it's still linear. And here we have 120-degree angles, and here it's 180-degree angles. So that's just a quick review of shapes. Watch the longer video if you need some more help. So there you have it. Thanks for listening.